everybody and welcome back to another brand new video where today we've got a little bit of Doctor Who news of sorts, and I just want to have a little general chat about the prospects and potential for when we might get to see the next series of Doctor Who. So yes, obviously Series 12 aired at the beginning of this year, which was great news because it obviously all got filmed, got in place, got shown just before the coronavirus pandemic caused all of TV production amongst everything in the world shut down, but obviously TV production was a big part of that. So in some ways it hasn't had an immediate impact on anything related to Doctor Who because they weren't planning to shoot the show at this time. The key thing to know first off is that there's going to be a festive special called Revolution of the Daleks, we all know that, but the key thing is that they have already filmed that special. It was filmed as part of the Series 12 production block. I believe it was around October and November of last year was when they filmed that, and so it's going through post-production now remotely, and there's not really, as far as we know, there's not been any problems with that, and it will all come together, and so we will get a festive special, whether it's on Christmas Day, New Year's Day, not quite sure. My gut feeling would be Christmas Day because they won't have, because of all the problems with filming TV this year, there's not going to be much TV around for Christmas, so I think Doctor Who might get the Christmas Day TV slot back and Revolution of the Daleks will air then, but if not, it will most likely be New Year's Day, so that's fine, that's all in the books, we're all sorted with that. And it's great news because it means that we still know we've got some sort of Doctor Who to watch, and it will be coming at the end of this year / the very beginning of next year. So that's the positive side of things. But the more negative side of things is the more long-term prospects of Series 13 of Doctor Who. When's that going to happen? How are they going to film it? How long will we be waiting for it to air? Like, there's a lot of question marks around it at the moment as to exactly what's going to happen. So the key thing that came out this week was a quote from the director of BBC Wales called Rhodri Talfan-Davies. I'm afraid I hadn't really heard of him before, but yeah, he's the chap in charge of BBC Wales basically, and was doing an online Q&A with the Royal Television Society, RTS, and they posed a question to him of what are the chances, how would it be possible for a show like Doctor Who to restart filming in the current situation and the way things are at the moment, and his line on it was essentially that given the amount of people employed and the amount of work that goes into a programme like that, it would be very, very difficult for them to film the show successfully in the current social distancing requirements that the government have put in place. And so having to do that across the whole production team would just make it nigh impossible to film something to a reasonable quality that we're used to. And so therefore his opinion was that unless the restrictions are sort of loosened and social distancing has pretty much gone away, then it's going to be very difficult to get Doctor Who filmed. Now clearly that's a pretty major statement because many experts, and I know these sort of government scientists and things, have always said that social distancing was likely to be required until at least the end of 2020, if not further on from that, to be able to deal with the coronavirus pandemic. And so that suggests, based off that information and what we've got the director of BBC Wales saying here, is that it's unlikely that Doctor Who Series 13 will get started filming in 2020. The original plan we know from before the pandemic started was they were aiming to start filming in September. Pre-production was set to sort of run from maybe April and through the summer months, and then from September onwards they would get stuck into filming the new show, as far as we knew was going to be 10 episodes again, another full series of Doctor Who. But it now of course looks increasingly and frankly very unlikely that that's going to happen, simply because it doesn't look in very short order like social distancing is going to be significantly relaxed to be able to enable that to happen. I think one of the important things to note is that all TV and film production across the board, and in many industries, people are having to be much more creative in being able to do things, to be able to run their businesses or to work out just how to do things with social distancing in place. And so I think that TV and film are looking into that. There's lots of guidelines being put into place gradually about what you can and can't do, the sort of health and safety side of being able to film TV or film at this time. And so I feel like a production team like Doctor Who, they will have a look at what's going on. They'll look at what options there are and opportunities there are to be able to film, and because they won't want to wait to be able to film this show until social distancing's done and everything's normal. I think the key thing is that they'll want to keep the quality the same, because you won't want it to visually appear like the programme, whatever it is, has been filmed during lockdown. Because for many people, lockdown and the coronavirus is obviously a negative experience that we've all had to go through. I mean, it's not a good thing at all for anybody, but it's not something that people in 1, 2, 3, 4 years are going to really want to be reminded of by what they're watching on the TV. And so if you're watching a Doctor Who where it's very clear that everybody is 2 meters apart from everybody else because nobody's allowed to get near each other because of social distancing, it's not going to be a product that everybody's going to be particularly excited about or looking forward to wanting to watch, or that TV or streaming companies in the future are going to be interested in, because of it just brings you all back to that very negative experience in that period of time. As much as it's great for sort of things that are being filmed in lockdown right now and airing during lockdown, because that's sort of showing off the creativity of TV production teams and people, and being able to do that and produce these remote programs and doing it in Zoom calls and all those things, they're great. But I think once we get back to normal, or what the new normal or whatever you want to call it is going to be, I think the key thing will be that shows should look like they are made, even if they've had some social distancing behind the camera, in front of the camera, and the way it looks, it should feel the same as what we had beforehand. And so for a show like Doctor Who, that's not necessarily going to be massively easy. So what is the timescale? What is likely? I mean, obviously I am guesstimating here. I don't have any inside knowledge apart from this quote we've had today, and based on previous experiences of how long Doctor Who's taken to film, to be able to base anything I say on today. I think realistically, as I say, it's unlikely filming will start in September. I should say the original plan overall appeared to be that filming would start in September of 2020, and therefore at the earliest we would have got series 13 in September 2021, if not held back to January 2022. It's simply because Doctor Who has been taking a year to kind of 15 months to be able to film under the Chris Chibnall era. Looking back at the last few series with Chris at the helm of it, series 11 they started filming in, I believe, October 2017, around the time the cast were announced and everything. That's when the filming sort of got underway, and then it was about a year later that the series aired. And then with series 12 they started filming in January 2019, and of course the series aired in January 2020. So it was the last couple of series, it's quite a reasonable expectation therefore that if the series started filming in September 2020, you'd expect it in September 21. But of course, we now know it's very unlikely they're going to start filming in September. You'd think the earliest they're likely to film it is January 2021, and therefore that pushes it to a January 2022 starting slot for series 13 at the earliest. But of course, it's most likely with restrictions in place, because realistically, if they want to film Doctor Who in the next 2 years, then there's going to be some restrictions in place when they do it, because it's not anytime soon that everything's going to be completely back to normal and there's no health measures in place or anything like that. That's just not realistic in the short to medium term. And so anything that's put in place is naturally going to slow down the production of the show. And so I would guess that rather than getting a series done in 12 months, it might take 15 to 18 months to film the series, unless they decide to cut down an episode number to try and meet the 12-month deadline and get it out a little bit earlier. Maybe they'd go down to 8 episodes. I guess that's another possibility. But if it's been commissioned to 10, then they most likely would stick to that. So you look at it as, if optimistically they get filming started in January of next year, then you're probably looking at the earliest maybe March, April 2022, if not in a really sort of negative circumstances, it gets held back till autumn 2022, which I do feel unfortunately is a viable possibility, that we could still from now be waiting over 2 years until the next series airs, simply because of the massive delays and knock-on effects of the current coronavirus pandemic. So yes, clearly this isn't massively positive and happy news, I'm afraid, to have to say about the future of Doctor Who, not from a BBC wanting to cancel it kind of side, but purely from a coronavirus pandemic hit side that makes the production of the programme a lot more difficult to do, frankly, and exactly when they're going to film it, we really just don't know. But that's my best guess as to a rough timeline, would be to expect filming at some point early next year, with a series coming maybe spring 2022, optimistically. I think is the most likely. It's also, we look a little bit longer term, and think about the 60th anniversary year that's coming up in 2023, it seems unlikely that we'll be getting a full series in 2023, because even if they do manage to get the series series 13 up and ready for 2022, maybe March, April 2022, it's still going to be a push, unless they start filming pretty much straight away. It's going to be a push to be able to get a full series out for some point in 2023. So I wouldn't be surprised if they have to look at a specials year to like 2009 and David Tennant's year for the anniversary, which will be a real shame because you want it to be a big celebratory year for the 60th anniversary. But I think given the way the production is going to kind of lag, and unless they go real extreme and delay series 13 through to 23, or split it in half like we had in series 6 and 7, or things like that, there are things they could do. But I feel the most likely outcome would be a full series in 22 and then specials in 23, maybe leading up to, well, a 60th anniversary special, and then maybe Jodie's Regeneration at the end of that. I mean, it's all guesswork at this stage, but I feel like that sounds a plausible timeline for the next few years of the show, and probably Chris leaving when Jodie leaves as well seems most likely, but goodness knows who's going to come and take over after him. So yeah, that kind of is probably all we really know and all we can really guess at the moment as to what's going to happen. Obviously, ultimately no one really knows, because no one knows exactly what's going to happen with the coronavirus pandemic over the next 6, 12, 18 months, or several years. And so we're really, we get these very occasional sort of tidbits of possible information about where the show's heading and what might be happening in terms of the production of it going forwards. And clearly it doesn't sound massively positive. I think the one positive thing, of course, at the moment we can focus on is we've got a Christmas special coming up with Revolution of the Daleks. That is going to happen. It's all filmed. It's all going to be ready. It's all going to be good to go. And so that's something to look forward to. Probably, spoiler alert, with Captain Jack in it as well. Well, definitely with Captain Jack in it. It kind of leaked that, didn't it? It was all a bit, I mean, Captain Jack basically accidentally did it himself. Or John basically confirmed it himself by accident. So yeah, that's exciting. But past that, we just don't really know. I don't think the show's in any real danger from a BBC point of view. I think it will still carry on. And I think a new showrunner will eventually come in after Chris to continue the show on from there, where it just may be that for the time being, there are going to be pretty substantial gaps between series or between episodes of Doctor Who, because most likely next year the only episode we're going to get is a New Year's Day special, if they decide to show Revolution on New Year's Day, and then that's probably going to be it until at least spring of the following year. So yeah, it's not a positive, but that's probably the situation we are looking at. So guys, please do let me know in the comments below, what are your kind of thoughts on this? What do you have any predictions as to what you might see the timeline being of Doctor Who over the next few years? Yeah, just any thoughts you have on the future of the show given this, amidst this coronavirus pandemic. So yes guys, I hope you have enjoyed this video as much as it's not been the most positive one, but please do remember to hit that like button, that subscribe button if you're new here, and I'll see you again very soon for another one. Goodbye.